went on Truth Social and says Walmart should eat the tariffs. In other words, not pass on the prices to consumers. Doesn't that inherently serve as an acknowledgement that tariffs are essentially a tax on consumers? Because initially President Trump said, well, other countries, that's not true. Countries pay for the tariffs. But here we have a perfect example. China gets these tariffs, and then Walmart has to raise its prices, and consumers end up paying for them.
Well, Jake, in essence, what you're saying is you're saying taxes are inflationary, so let's pass the Trump tax cuts, and that'll be disinflationary if we continue that line of thinking.
I don't know that you can put me on as endorsing anything, but go ahead.
Let's just keep everything consistent. I did speak to Doug McMillan, who I have a very good relationship, yesterday, just to understand what he had to say. And understand that came from an earnings call. On an earnings call, because of SEC requirements, they have to give the most draconian case. So Walmart will be absorbing some of the tariffs. Some may get passed on to consumers. But the other thing that's happening is that inflation is down. We had the first drop in inflation in 4 years under President Trump. The other thing that Doug mentioned to me is for his consumers, for his buyers, the most important thing are gasoline prices, and this administration has gotten gasoline prices down. Service prices are down. So overall, I would expect inflation to remain in line. But I don't blame consumers for being skittish after what happened to them 4 years under Biden. We had the worst inflation in 40 years.
So ever since Liberation Day, April 2nd, I have a weekday show called The Lead. And ever since then, every day pretty much, we interview a small business owner. Some of them are Trump supporters, some of them are not, some of them are tariff supporters, some of them are not. The one thing I hear from almost every one of them is the uncertainty. They don't know how to plan for the future because they have no idea what's going to come. The other thing I hear is that their margins, these are small business, their margins are so thin, 5 to 10% max. And they say that these tariffs are just taking away all of their profit margin. So I guess my question is, what do you say to people concerned about the uncertainty? And what do you say to people who say, small business owners who say, we need relief? Because they say, I'd love to buy lithium batteries in the United States, but you can't. They're only available for small businesses from China.
Well, a couple of things to unpack there, Jake. One is that we didn't get here overnight in terms of this terrible trade situation we have with China, but also with the rest of the world. And President Trump is renegotiating these, and strategic uncertainty is a negotiating tactic. So if we were to give too much certainty to the other countries, then they would play us in the negotiations. I am confident that at the ends of these negotiations, both the retailers, the American people, and the American workers will be better off. That what we saw with China was the only country post-April 2nd to escalate. So both sides escalated. We got to an untenable level. We were at 145%, they were at 125, and we had a meeting in Geneva last weekend, and both sides came down 115%. So the U.S. is now at 30. A 10% reciprocal tariff that's on a pause, and 20% fentanyl tariffs, those were put on back in February, so those are already in the system. So I think most of the small businesses you're talking to, they were probably referring to the very high triple-digit tariff levels, which have now been brought down.
Yes, some of them were, but there's also just this idea, a lot of them saying, look, I support what President Trump wants to do. I support the idea of wanting to bring manufacturing back to the United States, but it can't be done in a month or 3 months or even a year. That there's just an entire infrastructure in this country that is lacking. They can't buy what they would love to buy. Most of them, as you know, if not all of them, are patriotic. They want to buy American goods, but a lot of this stuff just isn't made in America. I mean, we could go into a long history about the hollowing out of the manufacturing base that is neither the fault of you, me, or President Trump, but it does exist, and it will take years to make the manufacturing infrastructure that these small businesses rely on.
Well, Jake, I think what we're going to see, just like we saw with the UK trade deal, my sense is it's what we'll see with China. We don't want to decouple with China, and President Trump actually wants to open up China for business. So the manufacturing we want to bring back, we had during COVID, we realized that we had some very strategic shortfalls, whether it was medicines, semiconductors, steel, the other products. So the long-term, the medium-term goal is to bring back these strategic industries as quickly as possible, and I think we will continue trading with China in the kinds of products that these small businesses are talking about at lower tariff levels.